Okay, let's move on to the next question. We have someone at the microphone. Your name and your question, please.
My name is Paul Vance. My question relates to environmental policy and specifically to cap and trade. As you know, Ohio would have to pay significantly more under a cap and trade plan because we would have to purchase credits to continue to emit the same levels that we do now. Other states that don't have to use coal for their energy generation would not pay those credits. At this debate 2 years ago, Mr. Bucheri, the word you used to describe the effect of cap and trade on our region was devastating. Now you are proposing a carbon-based cap and trade policy. Would you explain why you are proposing a policy that would increase cost disproportionately for our area? And could I hear from the other candidates to explain their position on cap and trade and environmental policy? Thank you.
Okay, so the same question for all the candidates about explaining their policy on cap and trade, is that correct? Okay. Yes?
I'm sorry?
We need one question for all the candidates, not a separate question for any different candidates.
Your position on cap and trade for our area, and how do you balance the national interest with our regional interest on this issue?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blevins?
I feel that cap and trade is going to be extremely detrimental, not only to the 16th district, but to our nation as well. My opponent, my Democratic opponent, will talk about how we need to build it here and assemble it here. With cap and trade, it's going to cost more to build, it's going to cost more to assemble, and it's going to cost more to buy. And in these economic times, we cannot throw off the delicate balance of our economy by increasing prices on the consumers. I feel that cap and trade, if it passes through the Senate, is going to be, as I said, very detrimental to not only our district, but our nation. With the having to purchase carbon credits, it's going to be another thing that's going to drive industry out of our nation, and along with it, it's going to be taking many American jobs, and our economy will not recover from this sort of legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Bucheri.
Thank you, Cindy. First of all, I never made that statement here. Quite frankly, this is part of a comprehensive energy bill that will move away from our dependence on foreign oil and create jobs here in America that cannot be outsourced. A cap and trade system has been used by 3 Republican presidents, Ronald Reagan to help take lead out of gasoline, by George W. Bush to help cure sulfuric acid, free market approach, innovation-driven, high technology intensive. And it's also been used in the campaign by John McCain and Sarah Palin as one of the platforms, a free market approach. We've been ordered by the Supreme Court to do this. And what you won't hear my opponent say, Ohio has a rich coal-intensive state. We're going to be able to buy and sell credits and do research and development on coal here in Ohio. What they won't finish the story is that we import 2/3 of our coal from surrounding states as far as Montana and Wyoming. And ratepayers in this state pay an extra $1.5 billion for that importation. Let's grow it here, build it here. The research we're doing at Ag Research Center is going to help us build methane digesters so that we can have local homegrown energy. Waste-to-energy programs are being researched right here.
Thank you. Mr. Renacci.
My opponent keeps talking about Republicans. He talks about Palin and McCain. Here's the truth about it. I don't care whether it was a Republican idea. I don't care whether it was a Democratic idea. It's a bad idea. And that's the problem. Cap and trade. The President of the United States said that cap and trade will bankrupt our coal industry. 88% of the energy in Ohio is coal-driven. All right? It will cost jobs. There's a study out that shows almost 60,000 to 80,000 jobs will be lost in Ohio if cap and trade is passed. There's a company in Richmond, Ohio that I met with that says if cap and trade is passed, 148 jobs will leave. We don't even have, in the cap and trade legislation, been talking about enough credits for the state of Ohio. So ultimately, we're talking about increases to individual homes. We're talking about increases to businesses. We're talking about a job-killing bill. And I've said this time and time again, there should not be one congressman in the state of Ohio that voted for cap and trade that should ever be allowed to go back to Washington.
Thank you. Mr. Ross.
Cap and trade is only one a couple of ways to help abate carbon. Carbon is now a recognized pollution by the EPA, so they're mandated to control it like any pollution. The cap and trade program, like you said, is a program that's worked with sulfuric acid and other programs, but it's only one of several. Another program you could simply do is put the price on carbon, and if you produce so much, you pay so much for that carbon. If you want, you can use that money put back directly into the community. So we could be using the carbon tax to help produce greater green jobs in the area. But if you're trying to escape from the fact that global warming is coming, you don't need to worry because it's already here. And we have to do what we can to mitigate the cause of it. And the sooner we get into the green environment, the better we're going to be competitive with the rest of the world.
Any further comments? Mr. Bocheri?
Thank you. My opponents are clear. I don't know if they've ever read the bill, but there is $183 billion of research in that bill that would allow for clean coal, gas, gas liquefaction, coal gas liquefaction, like we're doing at Babcock Wilcox, studying the effects of turning waste to energy, like we're doing here at the Ag Research Center. Folks, I'm telling you right now, if politicians continue to fight about this, we're going to be surpassed by other countries that are doing this research right now. China has just overtaken us with clean coal research. They've just overtaken us with photovoltaic, solar panel research. They've overtaken us in our wind turbine research. We have got to do this. America has led every technological revolution, and we've got to have vision. If we let the special interest groups block us every time, we're never going to move this ball down the field. Do you think the big oil companies want you to have a choice when you roll into a fuel station? Do you think the big energy companies, utility companies, want you to have a choice in your electricity? We're developing fuel cells, battery technology, and waste energy programs right here in the 16th district as we've begun to make this research.
Thank you. Other comments? Mr. Renacci?
Again, this is an example of when legislators make law or make rules that they don't have to live with. They don't understand that company in Rittman, Ohio, isn't going to worry about the research dollars that he's talking about. They're leaving. They don't understand that if your costs are driven up by 60%, 30%, whatever the numbers are, you're going to cut jobs. They don't understand that because what they're doing is they're sitting in Washington making legislation without understanding what the effects are on the people back here that have to live within that legislation. Now, I am one that is believing in an all and above energy policy. We need to make sure that we continue to look at all options, clean coal, wind, nuclear, American oil. We need to continue to use our resources and at the same time don't take away from the jobs that we desperately need here in Ohio and especially here in the 16th district.
Mr. Ross?
This doesn't have to be an all or nothing kind of program. I mean, certainly we can phase things in so that it doesn't cost the jobs that are being thrown up as, the detriment to the Ohio economy. There's got to be a real common sense way of doing this. We have to, on the one hand, reduce carbon. We have to increase jobs. The only growth industry in the world is the green economy. John Bocheri is exactly right. We have to do that. And if we don't have a carbon abatement program, we don't have the platform for a green industry to build on. It's that simple. And without that, there are no growth jobs in the future. And if you think they're going to come back, because the idea that we're going to bring back those jobs we shipped overseas, those jobs pay $6 a day. Is that the kind of jobs you want to bring back? Because that's what they're paying them currently in Haiti and China.
Thank you, Mr. Blevins.
The congressman said that we should not allow oil companies to dictate the energies we choose, and I agree with you. What I disagree with is that I don't think it goes far enough. I don't think that the government should dictate what energy we use via legislation. I think that when you introduce legislation that slants the market towards one product at the detriment of another, the government's gone too far.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and move on to another question. Wayne County is part of the 16th Congressional District, and agriculture is the #1 economy in Wayne County. What ideas do you have to enhance and support agriculture in Wayne County? And we'll start with Mr. Bucieri.
Thank you. I am one of the only legislators from Ohio, congressman, who's sitting on the ag panel. We've actually brought Secretary Bill Sack into here to look at the things we're doing at ATI and the Ohio State Ag Research Center. And I know they've been hit by a tragedy here with this tornado that came through, and I pledge that if you send me back to Congress, we're going to work to rebuild brick by brick that great institution. They're doing fabulous work there. We've been able to bring back some resources so they can continue studying these diseases that they're able to research there. We want to continue to do the research and make agriculture as important as its prominence in the state. We know that it's $80 billion of economic activity in the state. 1 of every 7 jobs is connected to it. We've done great work here to help folks like Smith Dairy. They got some stimulus money. We're able to leverage a $20 million contract with Chipotle. Here's an ag-producing industry now that's expanding and creating jobs because of some of the work that we've done. I would not decrease any farm revenue or farm subsidies for our farmers. We need to make sure that they have everything to succeed.
Mr. Renacci?
Yes, and again, agriculture is very important here in Wayne County. And I stand with the agricultural community in 2 basic things. I truly believe that we need to do everything we can to avoid cap and trade legislation, which will hurt our agricultural community. The other thing that I know that they stand for, and I stand firmly behind, is I believe that we should have a permanent repeal of the death tax or the estate tax for the farmers and the agricultural community. Give the community those 2 things alone, which they're fighting for. And I believe that would be a good step to helping out the agricultural community here in Wayne County.
Thank you, Mr. Blevins.
When it comes to agriculture, of course, it's not only a large business here in the 16th district, but it's a very lucrative business for America. I see how subsidies have strings, and strings prohibit true growth in the agricultural business. Most of the subsidy monies go to agribusiness, and they do hurt the family farmer. Another thing that does hurt the family farmer is the estate tax. So I agree with Mr. Renacci on this. We do need to repeal permanently the estate tax so that families can keep the farms that generations before them have worked on, and that they can be confident that they will be able to make the decisions that's best for them in the future with regards to which crops to grow.
Okay, do we still have a question from the audience? Or not? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ross, and then, did you have a question then? Still? Okay, we'll get to you after that.
Okay.
Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Ross.
That's all right, thanks. The ag subsidies, like Mr. Blevins alludes to, is going primarily to the big agricultural corporations. Probably in the range of 90% of it does. The small farmers are the ones that are struggling to compete with the money we pay to these large agricultural companies. They also go into other countries, undercut the local agricultural community, and force them out of business into the cities, into the slave shops that we set up down there to put these people to work in for $6 a day. So I'm not a big fan of subsidies to the big agricultural corporations. I am a big advocate of doing the research to help our local farmers. There again, that would be part of my comprehensive plan. We could sit down and say, okay, what resources do we have locally, on the countywide, citywide, statewide, and federal that we could combine to improve our own agricultural community?
Thank you.